road leading into the valley winds like a wound across the landscape, flanked by ancient pines that claw at the sky and shroud the horizon in shadow. The air is thick with the scent of decay, wet leaves, and a metallic tang that clings to the back of your throat. Even before you reach the town, you sense it. Something pressing against the edges of your mind, a silent weight that follows with every mile. The fog here does not lift with the sun. It lingers, curling around trees and telephone poles, filling every crack in the asphalt, as if determined to swallow everything whole. The town itself sits at the convergence of forgotten roads, a cluster of weathered homes and boarded storefronts, abandoned machinery half sunken into the earth, and a single diner that never seems to open fully, its neon sign flickering weakly, casting a sickly red glow. The streets are empty, but they are not silent. The wind carries something that sounds like whispers, soft, almost imperceptible, barely human. Sometimes you swear you hear laughter, sometimes it's crying, and sometimes it is a low, guttural voice that seems to come from inside the fog itself, a voice that does not belong to anything alive. People are few, the ones who remain moved with the deliberateness of prey. They speak in clipped sentences, never meeting eyes, their gaze is darting constantly toward the forest line. If you ask about the disappearances, the past, the strange lights, they close themselves off immediately, the skin on their necks tightening, the hands curling instinctively. There's a rule here, unspoken but undeniable. Outsiders are not to linger, and curiosity is punished by fear, so deep it becomes contagious. The first of the disappearances that drew outside attention happened decades ago. A young man, new to the town, vanished on a routine hike, leaving only a torn backpack in the mud and a trail of footprints that stopped abruptly at the edge of the woods. Investigators found no clues, and locals whispered that he'd been drawn away, beckoned by something in the darkness. Over the years, the cases multiplied and patterns emerged. All victims disappeared without struggle, without evidence, as though swallowed by the town itself. Searches yielded nothing. Dogs refused to enter the tree line. Helicopters hovered fruitlessly above, yet the forest seemed impervious, impenetrable, watching with an almost sentient patience. The past holds a darker story, buried beneath layers of denial and silence. Town records from the early 1900s speak of a massacre, the details vague but unmistakably horrific. Fires consumed homes, but survivors spoke in hushed tones of figures that moved with impossible speed, shadows that whispered promises and threats. Letters from that time mention rituals performed at the edge of the forest, offerings made to unknown entities, and the deaths of those who failed to comply. The events were never fully recorded, never fully explained, yet the town carries the weight of them still, a generational fear, passed silently from parent to child, cemented in the way they look at the trees, the way they avoid certain streets, the way they do not sleep at night. As you move through the town, you notice the signs, scratches on doors, long and deliberate, clawed marks of porch columns, high enough to suggest something taller than any human, faint footprints leading toward the forest, deep and wet, disturbed soil matted and dark. At night, strange lights appear beyond the tree line, pale lanterns swinging in slow arcs, impossible to reach, glowing red, orange, white, sometimes all at once. Some say these lights are lures, bait to draw people into the forest. Others claim they're the lost souls of the vanished, trapped in some liminal space between life and death. The town itself seems to exist in that space too, caught between survival and surrender. On the nights when the fog thickens, the forest exhales a sound that chills the marrow. Low, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. It moves through the valley, through the streets, pressing into homes, seeping beneath doors. People claim that if you listen too long, the sound lodges in your head, becomes part of your vision, makes the shadows dance at impossible angles. Some who have lingered report hearing whispers in languages they do not know, Words formed in syllables that scrape the brain raw, promising pain, warning of inevitability. It is seductive and repulsive, a siren song that tests every nerve. Disappearances escalate without warning. One winter, during a particularly harsh storm, 3 vanished within the same night. A delivery driver, a local girl, and an elderly man who had lived his entire life in the valley. Their houses remained untouched. No struggle, no signs of forced entry. Only the silence, thick and suffocating, that followed them. The forest appeared unchanged the next morning, but locals would tell you that something had shifted, that the trees themselves seemed taller, denser, darker, as if the forest had consumed part of the town's soul. Those who investigate rarely leave unchanged. A state investigator assigned to the town returned months later, pale and haunted, refusing to speak of what he saw. He described a sensation being watched from every angle, of hearing footsteps that did not match his own, of shadows bending unnaturally in the corner of his eye. He claimed that the forest moved subtly in ways that no natural growth could account for, that something followed him to his car, halted at the tree line, and vanished only when he looked directly at it. Even now, he sleeps with lights on, unable to enter a wooded area without the same oppressive weight returning. The town itself adapts to the presence of the unknown. Streetlights burn dim to avoid drawing attention. Children are never allowed outdoors after dark. Doors are locked long before dusk. Windows are shuttered, candles lit inside. Every family has a system, a ritual, a rule, a superstition, each designed to ward off the unseen. But the effectiveness is uncertain. When someone disappears, it is not always from wandering into the forest. Sometimes it happens at home, in bed, while others sleep. A person will rise in the night, leave the house without sound, and vanish into fog. No one sees, no one hears. Only the next morning, when a door is found ajar or a window broken, do the whispers begin. The past bleeds into the present. Journals recovered from attics tell stories of strange gatherings, figures emerging from the forest at night, rituals in which blood is offered, lives measured and weighed. Descriptions of the forest are consistent across generations, an entity within it or entities, massive and humanoid but distorted, moving with fluidity no human could achieve. They whisper promises and threats, assess the town's inhabitants. Take those who do not meet the criteria. One old entry concludes with words that remain untranslatable, ending with final line. The forest always keeps its debts. And the forest does keep its debts. Those who vanish are never seen again. Bodies are never recovered. Families grieve silently, whispers of their loved ones merging with the fog. Over time, the town itself becomes a living memorial of absence. Houses left empty, streets quieter, the diner's neon sign dimmer, the fog heavier. Yet the pull remains. Outsiders who pass through speak of feeling drawn off the road, compelled by an unseen force, their steps slow, deliberate, hypnotized. Some describe the sensation as warmth at first, a soft beckoning. Then dread sets in, cold and immovable, locking the chest, pressing the lungs. By the time panic arrives, it is too late. The forest communicates in its own language. It is subtle, sensory, immersive. A branch falls deliberately, with a weight disproportionate to its size. A rustle in the underbrush mimics a footstep you did not take. Shadows twist and stretch across the ground as if alive, aware. Birds avoid the area entirely. Even insects refuse the undergrowth. Time becomes malleable within the valley. Minutes stretch into hours. Hours collapse into seconds, and reality seems to fold in upon itself. Those who stay too long describe dreams and waking visions blending into one continuous nightmare. They swear that when they close their eyes, they see the forest watching them from the ceiling, the walls, the windows, everywhere at once. When outsiders investigate, they often experience psychological unraveling first. Sleep deprivation, hallucinations, paranoia, the subtle pressure of unseen observers. People disappear not just physically but mentally, first withdrawing from conversation, then from society, then from their own sense of self. By the time the town notices, some are already gone, wandering the fog with no memory of how they arrived there, guided by an instinct older than humanity, older than the town itself. And the forest watches. Always. Occasionally, the forest releases a gift or a warning. Objects appear on the edges of streets. A doll with eyes too wide. A shoe caked in mud. A piece of jewelry that belonged to someone long missing. They are never explained. They are never removed. Locals avoid them, fearing that touching such items invites attention. Some believe they are messages from the vanished. Some believe they are markers, proof of observation, proof that the forest decides who remains and who is taken. And always there is the call, a low hum that rises and falls, moving with intention. Some describe it as exhaling, a breath too long to be human. Others hear whispers within it, voices that imitate loved ones or strangers, or even an investigator who once dared to enter. The hum penetrates walls, floors, consciousness. It is irresistible, compelling. And for those who heed it, the result is inevitable. The forest collects its chosen, reshaping reality around them, and they are never seen again. The town survives through silence. Denial is a shield. Ritual, superstition, avoidance, all tools to delay the inevitable, yet the pull is constant. Outsiders who enter the valley report dreams of the town before they arrive. Images of empty streets, flickering lights, fog swallowing the world, and a figure at the edge of the forest, always watching. Those who ignore the warning often never make the main road. Their cars found abandoned, keys still in ignition, eyes wide with the unrecorded terror of what they saw or felt or heard or could never explain. The valley is more than land. It is a trap, a crucible, a living organism feeding on memory, fear, and flesh. Each disappearance reinforces its existence, strengthens its presence, hardens its will. The town's residents are both victims and guardians, trapped in a cycle of survival and complicity, bound by knowledge too heavy to speak. They are witnesses to a force that bends the laws of nature, that refuses to negotiate, that enforces its own rules with patience and precision older than the first settlers. If you drive into the fog long enough, the world shifts. Colors desaturate unnaturally. Sounds distort. Shadows lengthen. You may see movement in your peripheral vision, slow, deliberate, impossible to identify, and when you look directly, it vanishes. You may hear footsteps behind you, synchronized with your own, and when you stop, they stop. And if you venture closer to the tree-line, the hum begins, the call low and vibrating, burrowing into your consciousness, pressing your mind against itself. It is seductive. It is inevitable. And when you answer, even unconsciously, you vanish. The town endures an eternal witness, a monument to fear, a haven for the unknown, and the forest waits, always waiting. Every tree, every shadow, every whisper, a sentinel. Every foggy night, every broken lock, every abandoned object, a reminder. The dead is never forgiven, the call never ends, and the forest never forgets. Those who enter risk everything, but those who stay, if they are fortunate enough, only survive through silence, submission, and the hollow echo of lives never fully lived. Because in this town, in this valley, in this place forgotten by time and feared by all, the line between life and disappearance is a thread stretched thin over the abyss. And one misstep, one breath too deep, one glance into the wrong shadow, and the forest claims its due once again.